Hey, it's Steve. Please like and subscribe. Please click on the deck heroes icon. Click on subscribe. It's 100% free. And don't forget to click on the notifications just so that you don't miss any amazing content. Okay, so this is a gentleman trying to date over 40. Is it even worth it anymore? I have watched this video through one time, but it was a while ago and I can't even remember what was said. So it's almost like a first viewing. This gentleman has got over 100,000 subscribers, so it's going to be very interesting. That much I do know. Very interesting to hear his perspective. I'm another man in his 40s, but I'm in a very bustling city of London with a different life experience, so there will be some interesting contrasts. Let's go.
What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Tim back with another video, and today we have a very interesting topic. Today we're going to be talking about dating, which is always a fun topic. The comment sections are always amazing on a dating video, but specifically we're going to be talking about dating in your middle ages, like post 40, your 40s and 50s. I've just been seeing, not only in real life but also on the internet, more and more people in that age group, which is my age group, just saying they're done. More and more people just saying, hey, I'm 47 and I don't think I'm ever going to date again. I'm 55 and I think I'm done. Just seeing a lot of people, maybe they came out of divorces a few years ago, they tried the dating thing, just couldn't find anybody, couldn't get anything, long lasting, anything real, and they're done. Or they're just people who, they've, excuse me, been out on the market for a while and just tired of the dating scene, just over it, or people who just have come to realize, and I think I might be heading down this path, which is why I want to do this video, but I think people who are just realizing that maybe once you hit a certain age, you're just like set in your ways, especially if you haven't dated in a while. It's been almost a decade since I was in like a serious relationship, so like I think I'm just very set in my ways, you know.
Hopefully he talks about what he means. I'm in my 40s as well. Setting my ways? Set in my ways. I mean, to me, it's how you. Listen, depends what he's really talking about. For the 20s, I'm not trying to compete with people in their 20s. I'm not even looking to date, but I'm just saying that conceptually. I'm not trying to go out until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and on the weekend or anything. Not that people do it anymore post lockdown, but anyway, just as a concept. I'm not trying to lead a young man's life in any regard. So is that what he means when he's saying that you're set in your ways, or does it just mean that you've got certain things which you probably should compromise on in order to have a relationship with anybody else, but you just don't want to do it? You know what I mean? So maybe that is that you just don't like going out, you like to stay in all the time. I don't want to put words in his mouth, I'm just trying to guess what it could be. Or you like to smoke, and that's kind of non-sociable thing to do unless you want another smoker, or you just decide to get some juicy tattoo all across here, including over your face. And that's kind of put you in. But obviously, he hasn't done it. I'm just saying, is it just basically the things that nobody else would agree to, which as a person, once you're in your 40s, you just don't want to compromise on, or bad hygiene, whatever it is. But anyway, yeah, listen, if you're not willing to make yourself an attractive kind of potential partner, it's not just about what they bring to us, we've got to bring that to them. Then, if that's what he means by setting your ways, and I guess fair enough, you're not ready for it. But if it's not what he means, hopefully he talks about it in a little while. Let's go.
I mean, like, it would be very hard for someone at this age. I'm 45 now. It would be very hard for like someone to come into my life and like acclimate to like how I live my life. I know me, I kind of live a different lifestyle. That makes it harder. But just in general, it's like, I don't know. I felt like when I was younger, I was willing to make that sacrifice.
Again, acclimate to a different lifestyle. Hopefully we talk about what that lifestyle is. I know he's going to kind of regress and talk about the lifestyle when he was younger. We want to know about his lifestyle now in his 40s. Anyway, we'll get there, hopefully.
Like when you're in your 20s and your 30s, it's all about meeting somebody, finding love, a family for a lot of people. As I'm getting older, it just feels like, do I even want to make that sacrifice? Do I want to switch up being able to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it? For what? I mean, don't get me wrong, love is a beautiful thing. True love is an amazing thing. And I know that there are aspects of this life I'll never get to experience alone. But I think the older I get, the more at peace I am with that. There was a time when I was younger, I wasn't at peace with it. It's like, oh, you got to find somebody. You got to be with somebody. You need to be in love. Now that I'm in my mid 40s, I'm kind of like, do I? Do I want to give up the freedom to travel wherever I want, go wherever I want? Do I want to give that up? And I want.
No, but I think this is where people are at. I think people are stuck in a kind of mindset where all perception or belief that, yeah, fair enough. What he's saying is like, I understand what he's saying now. Setting your ways, meaning that you don't really, I think anyway, meaning that you don't really want to compromise on the things that you enjoy doing just to kind of to maintain the relationship going forwards. But instead, what you should be looking for is, yeah, you're bringing what you bring to the table and it's reasonable, and you look for somebody who's got those shared interests. You know what I mean? It's not just that they happen to be single and gorgeous or single and interested. You know what I mean? So you got to continue that search. And yeah, if somebody's not moving your life forwards net, you know what I mean? If there's a net reduction in happiness, which I think is what he's talking about, then yeah, just keep it rolling, right? Of course. Yeah.
If more and more people in this age group aren't coming to that realization. I'm wondering if more of us just are like, I'm good now, you know? And I'd be curious for people who might be a generation above me, people in their 60s. Was this a thing 20 years ago for them, or is this a new phenomenon? Like, there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of things happening that are a byproduct of new technologies we have and just the way the world is changing. And I think sometimes it takes, 10, 15 years to see the results. And I'm wondering if some of the things that happened in the 90s or early 2000s, we're seeing the byproduct of it now. But it just seems like more and more people.
Such as what? I'll try to follow what he's saying, but other things has happened in the 80s and early 90s are a byproduct, and we're just seeing it now. I don't know what that means, my brother. I don't know what that means. He did make a point a minute ago about something else. I should have said it at the time. Anyway, let's go forwards. Hopefully, I'll remember.
Aren't worried about it, especially once they hit middle age. They're just not worried about it. I mean, maybe it's a tough time to meet people. Maybe it's always been this way, but I feel like it's a tough age to meet people. Because I know for me, like, where do I go to meet women in their 40s? You're not hanging out at the bars, you're not hanging out at the clubs as much anymore. I feel like, too, a lot of people in this age range, they got a lot of stuff going on. They don't have as much time to, like, date. Maybe more than they would have had a few years ago, maybe when the kids were still home or whatever. But still, like, it's an age where most people got stuff going on. So where do you go to meet women in their 40s? Excuse me. Where do you go to meet women in their 40s and 50s? You can try the apps, and I've tried the apps, but I don't know. The apps, it just feels like a meat market, bro. I don't like the idea of swiping left on people it seems very judgy on the apps. I'm like, no. I find
I can remember this bit. He's just about to talk to you. So, where do you meet people? You can't. The short story is, this won't be very long. You just meet them wherever you can. So yeah, it's going to be the online thing. It's going to be in person, but I don't know how often. I think as you get older, I think even in London, you probably will go out lesser as you get older than when you were younger. It's just the facts of it, right? And you got more people in the same stage of life doing the same thing. And as you get older, you probably think you're past it, and you are or you aren't. Or you got less people who will kind of accompany you to do things, and you don't want to be part of the old person in the club or the old person doing anything necessarily. So yeah, it's definitely going to be harder. But again, as I said in other videos, if you can't meet them in person and your only option is online, then guess what? It's online. It's the options are with the ones which are available. Anyway, let's go forward.
myself like critiquing people and like laughing at people and like noticing people's flaws, you know what I mean? And that's not me. I would never do that in real life. I never do that in real life. But on the apps, I do it, and I'm like, I don't like this. It just seems very meat marketing. No. And honestly, and I think a lot of men could attest to this. It is a looks thing on some level. So I'm not one of those guys who just does great on the apps. It's funny though. Different cities, I do better. Some cities I go and I get a ton of matches. Others I get none. But even then, it's that whole. Most women do better. An average woman on the app gets more matches than the average man. So even then, whenever I am talking with women, I feel like they've got way more options than I've got. You know what I mean? So a lot of them, you can tell they're talking to like 5 other guys at the same time. And like, I'm big on like energy and stuff. And like, I can kind of
Before we go into the energy, so he said initially that, oh my God, yeah, he just said that a lot women have a lot more choice than the average man. And this is why I try and stop it early, just so I don't forget what was said. But then initially he started off saying, oh yeah, the superficiality in concept of going on online dating. It must be talking about Tinder with a swipe left, right? But as a man with that objective thought, you got to get past that thing and just focus on goal, right? The goal is that you need and you want to meet somebody. That's why you're on the app. They need and want to meet somebody. That's why they're on the app. You can approach that in any way that you want. You can approach it in the most kind of ethical way possible if that's what you really want to do, or you can just kind of swipe right on the people that you're actually interested in, like you meant to do, and swipe left on the ones that you're not. Because the concept for everybody is that you just kind of don't waste your own time, and you can look for whatever you want to look for in those profiles, and the one that kind of shines out most in common with you, what you're looking for, hopefully they will look at yours and have that same impression, and maybe it leads to something. That's the whole point, right? But I say my mother used to be a registrar, basically doing the marriages in a civil, via the government. Lots of people, even back then, got married online, so we can't we can do what we want to, but the facts are, and I'm sure everybody that you know, or most people that we know people that met online. So I do not recommend that you kind of dismiss it. And the more time that we spend dismissing the most likely ways to meet somebody, guess what? It's less likely we're going to meet them. So let's crack forward.
When someone's chatting with me or talking with me or messaging with me and they're really into it, or they're just kind of, like if it doesn't seem real, I unmatch. And what usually happens is I get on the apps for about a week and then I get disgusted, I get off. So I'm not downing the apps, they just don't seem to work for me.
This is the approach, right? So he's just saying for about kind of like, laughing at people, laughing at profiles for whatever reason, it really going to why, you know what I mean? But anyway, there's profiles that the less in line with where we're coming from or where that person's coming from, and so therefore it's going to be a no. But also he goes on to say something else, which is, I think, just to give a heads up about where my mind is at. With the online dating, it can literally be just too kind of throwaway and superficial. And if yes, that's what he's doing, that'll be the reason why it doesn't actually materialize to anything. And if other people are doing the same, then that's on them. But the person that you will meet and the person that you're at the same place at the same time with, it's a numbers game. And the more that you do the right things and don't get drawn into the throwaway things, shows more that you're going to have a better of a chance. And you go forwards and you're happy, you get married and all that kind of stuff, right? Let's go.
Most women do better. An average woman on the app gets more matches than the average man. So even then, whenever I am talking with women, I feel like they've got way more options than I've got. You know what I mean? So a lot of them, you can tell they're talking to like 5 other guys at the same time. And like I'm big on like energy and stuff, and like I can kind of tell when someone's chatting with me or talking with me or messaging with me and they're really into it, or they're just kind of, like if it doesn't seem real, I unmatch. And what usually happens is I get on the apps for about a week and then I get disgusted, I get off. So I'm not downing the apps, they just don't seem to work for me. So I'm like, you got.
I think I know where it's coming from, and obviously I don't really know. But it's say if somebody's just not giving you any energy and they're not really interested in talking, and you kind of hypothesize maybe that they must be talking to a lot of other people. What I kind of do or did when I was online anyway was kind of just say, because you got nothing to lose at that point. As soon as you're at the point where you know you're going to delete that profile anyway, then what have you got to lose? You know what I mean? So just in the nicest way possible, just say words to the effect of, I can tell that you're not really an app person. And if they don't reply to that, then obviously they've ghosted you. Or just say, are you an app person in general? Question mark. A variation on that, whatever's better for you when you're part of the world, right? Then hopefully that's a kind of, listen, you're on notice right now that I'm not really getting the energy that I need from this. And the comments, I say you got nothing to lose at that point, right? Because you've already been ghosted, or you haven't got the energy that you need, or you haven't got the energy from them, which shows that they're genuinely interested. So, and maybe they'll kind of fix up basically, or maybe they won't, but that's any way to know. But just going straight to delete, I think that's a problem.
The apps. People will say like go to the grocery store, which seems creepy. Any place that people are like, oh, go and look for. It just seems creepy, bro. I'm not going to the library, creeping around the stacks. You know what I mean? Over there by the, I was gonna say card catalog, but they don't do that anymore. I don't even know what's in the library anymore. I guess the computer. I don't know. It's just, where do you go to meet women at this age? And then a lot of
I would say, having watched Coach Kyle, you meet them in the grocery stores. You can meet them on the street. You can meet them out and about. It's just basically making sure that if you do bump into somebody who could be your potential wife, your potential partner, that you just got the courage to be looking your best at all times, smelling very good if you can, and just have a beaming smile and being in good shape and having the confidence and just saying hello and trying to engage in a conversation and just see where it goes. other than to be contrasted with never going out, never looking your best, absolutely tip top in case you do bump into your future partner, future wife or husband or whatever, and never saying hello and just thinking, oh man, she was gorgeous or he was gorgeous, if you're a woman or whatever, and just walking by and say that could be your one. It's just a lot of things basically, or in the park, just saying hello and just rolling the dice and see what happens. Let's go.
A lot of people at this age have been through, one marriage, two marriages. I know for me, I've never been married. So if you've been divorced or divorced twice, or if you've got like three kids, you know what I mean? Like for me, I know there's just a lot. I don't have a lot in common with women my age just because I'm child free, never been married. Sometimes I run across women who are a little jaded from their past. And then a lot of people at this age have been through, one marriage, two marriages. I know for me, I've never been married. So if you've been divorced or divorced twice, or if you've got like three kids, you know what I mean? Like for me, I know there's just a lot. I don't have a lot in common with women my age just because I'm child free, never been married. Sometimes I run across women who are a little jaded from their past. And I'm sure I've said many times I got emotional walls built up from my past. So, when you're younger, it seems like, you believe in love and you're open to so much. We get this age, we kind of done seen some stuff. You know what I mean? And I think it makes it harder to connect because you just like, nah, you remind me of my ex, or I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot more reason not to connect than when you're younger and you just believe in it so much. I think when you get this age, maybe you've just stopped believing. And I do believe in true love, and I do think it is possible. I just don't know if it's as probable, as I get older. And I'm just honestly like, I know for me, I'm like, if I could just find a couple more situationships, like I'm
You know what? I hear what he's saying about the baggage of other people, not really necessarily want to take it on, and just finding reasons to say no. But that all still, for me, boils down to just being your best person. Don't get drawn into those kind of traps of different sorts. It doesn't have to be the baggage traps. It can just be like the negative attitude kind of traps. And definitely don't kind of recognize the negative things in self and then just tolerate it like it's nothing. You know what I mean? Just like, okay, yeah, okay, I'll just swipe left and I probably shouldn't do it because should give him a chance, but then you swipe it left, 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 left. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah, maybe I should be dismissing everybody because, they've got these superficial kind of little negative traits. And then you dismiss everybody that you see. You know what I mean? So just recognizing self, what you should be doing, do the things you should be doing, and then go from there. That's all good, right? Right? Logically. But yeah, anyway, what do you say for sure?
meeting somebody and we hang out for a month and whatever. You know what I mean? Like I don't. There's no. For me, this ideal that I have to find true, undying love isn't as important to me anymore. If it happened, that'd be great. I'd love to meet somebody I could die with. But like, it's not that big a deal anymore. And that seems to be what I'm hearing from a lot of people who they may still casually date and they may, go out every now and then and meet people, but it's just this ideal of like meeting someone. Excuse me. I'm still getting over this cold. I apologize. Meeting someone and it being happily ever after. It just seems like once you hit, 43, that just ain't what it used to be. It's just, I don't know.
When he said once you hit, I thought he was going to leave it there. I thought he was talking about the naughty time. He did mention a little bit a while ago before I press play, about situationships and being, more or less happy with that for now. That's a very male way of looking at things, and I do totally get it. I think until you find somebody, as I said right at the start, who's going to add to your life, add to your life, that's on their side, and also on our side if you're single. I guess it's innocence, and in this instance, and you happen to be male, and we're on our top game, they're on their top game, we're on our top game, and then we just think about whether they're heading in the same direction. That's what we should be aiming for. Everything else is distraction again, especially if you reflect on self, as I said a minute ago, and there's certain things you shouldn't do, and you think you're going to get away with doing it. No, that makes us the problem. Whoever's doing that makes you the problem. You know what I mean? Definitely. And somebody else who doesn't know you doesn't have to pull up with any BS, you know what I mean? Including that type of stuff. So anyway, best foot forward. Let's go.
Maybe the world in general, I think people just aren't, so many numbers are down as far as like human connection and relationships around the world. All over the world, people aren't getting as married as much, people aren't having kids as much. I think just in general, we're just not doing those type of things on the levels we used to. So I guess it makes sense that you get to a certain age and you're just like, I think we can all admit that, especially like here in the West, um, we're in this weird situation where, and I think this affects all age groups, but like our values have kind of changed. But when it comes to dating, we act like we want to hold on to like the old, the old values. I don't know. Gender roles are changing, so that changes things up too. Um, Gender itself is changing. It's just there's just so many things that I think it. You know, you have traditional thinkers, and then you have people who are whose thought pattern who think along the lines of like some of the new stuff coming out. I spend a lot of time around people in their 20s, things like that. So a lot of the new ideas appeal to me, and I understand where the kids are coming from, and I do think it is time for some changes along some of those lines. But once again, if you meet someone who still has the older traditional values, it can be kind of, So I think that's an area where a lot of people are butting heads. Is just you might be looking for a certain type of mate, and they may not be on that type of time no more. And I don't think anybody's right or anyone's wrong. It's just we're going through a very transitory period, a period with a lot of change, and I just feel like relationships and dating and marriage and all that is suffering because of it, because there is so much change going on. And I just think more and more people are just done. It's like, why? Because you do, like, every time you meet somebody and it doesn't work out, there's some pain involved. You know what I mean? It kind of hurts. Like, you get excited, you get hopeful, then it's no. Like, even if you meet somebody and it's temporary.
Deep thought moment. He mentioned something critical that I never really kind of thought about on a kind of deeper level, and maybe I get this wrong myself, right? He said something about he hangs around with younger people and they've got a different perspective on relationships and gender and things like that. And it's that gender and relationships and that kind of thing which was kind of front of mind now at different stages of our kind of civilization as a world, as a planet. We've gone through key stages. I don't hang out with the kids like this guy does. You know what I'm saying? I hang out with 30s and 40-year-olds, generally speaking. But the whispers I'm getting is that, yeah, the new age group are definitely more fluid in terms of things like gender and, they're kind of who they're attracted to and things like that. And they're being actively encouraged, like it or not. I think that's where he's going with as well. So if you're a traditional person, you're going to be more aligned with more traditional people, but if the people in the other side of the coin, the more fluid people, you know what I mean, they're on their side, and there's more division basically. But going back to everything else that he said, if the traditional people aren't kind of being the norm anymore because the men are keeping to men and women are keeping to women, and there's kind of situationships in between, then the only relationships we're working will be those fluid ones, right? The ones who are actually having relationships will be the new norm. And there's nothing to counterbalance that because the traditional is becoming less and less frequent. Maybe I'm overthinking this. Anyway, let's go forwards. And I'll conceptualize that a little bit more over time, maybe over this video. Let's go.
Like, there's that feeling of loss when it finally does end. You enjoy hanging out with that person, and then it's over. So like, after so long and getting your hopes up so many times and having them dash to the ground, or even if they were just like, not dash to the ground, but it just didn't work. Even if it's somebody you meet for a couple nights and you're talking on the phone, and then like the red flags come up, you're just like, oh, here's another one. It's easy to just get to the point where you're just like, no, I'm done. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. I don't think there's anything wrong. I don't even want to call it giving up, but I don't think there's anything wrong with exercising your right to be single. Unless the universe or God just throws the perfect person your way, I don't think there's anything wrong with just doing you. Learning to love yourself, learning to take full advantage of your freedoms, double down on your hobbies, your passions, doing whatever you want on the weekends because can't nobody tell you where you need to go or what you need to do. Just having time to yourself. A lot of times I think we're, especially people who've been married before, had kids, things like that, might have never had that before. And I think it might feel scary at first. But it's actually pretty cool to just take time to yourself and get to know yourself and like hang out with yourself and watch the shows you want to watch and do what you want. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of cool.
I hear that, and I know that's dominant, and there's definitely nothing wrong with it to a point. But being in your own space and not having that kind of social reality testing where you kind of test what's normal and what's good and not stretching yourself. I think all that basically stick to the point one. Not testing yourself, not putting yourself out there, just kind of puts yourself in that bubble. I don't know if that's a happy place to be in. You know what I mean? I say since we've got the internet and TV and things like that, we can convince ourselves that we are still kind of fulfilled, but doesn't sound that fulfilled, does it? You know what I mean? I guess when you're in it, you might say, oh, okay, yeah, well, actually, I enjoyed watching that show. And now it's time for bed, and I don't really mind work. And then the days pass you by. You might watch a little bit of sport or music, or whatever you do as a hobby, and life kind of passes you by. But I think objectively, looking at somebody else's life, living that life, you always may well think, you'd be inclined to think, yeah, but there is something missing there. There's something missing there. They can't possibly be happy, happy. You know what I mean? This kind of content happy. The higher range of content happy. When you look at somebody else objectively doing that same thing, surely. Unless they're in an unhappy relationship, then you may well think, I'm glad I'm not in that. Or they're going through a divorce and somebody's got to give away half. And they say, oh, I'm glad you're not in that too. Yeah, definitely. But that's why you got to be careful about who you pick going forwards and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so I believe in relationships. Long story short, let's go.
And I think if we normalize that, this idea that like if no one, this whole idea of like you're nobody if nobody loves you is stupid. If we can get rid of that type of belief and just realize that like sometimes you got a mate, sometimes you don't. Both are fine. If you're done just being out there in them streets and desperately seeking someone to be with and all the drama that comes with that, you can just say, no, I'm done. And it's fine. Some people are blessed with a good mate. Some people aren't. Some people have a bad mate. You know what I mean? So like, it's just.
I don't know. When you say you just basically in a relationship, you got to deal with the drama. Really, what you got to think about is, are you going for the same people who bring drama? And that doesn't mean flaming women, or that doesn't mean all men, depending if you're a woman or something like that. It just means if you're going for a type, and that type comes with drama, then that's what they always bring, and you already know that, tried and tested. So you're gonna have to change it up. You got to change it up. That means you got to go somewhere else, looking for a different type of girl. Maybe she doesn't have to be 5'5" or 6 foot or whatever it is. You know what I mean? You can go with somebody a little bit different, of a different community or a different part of the world and all that kind of stuff. You got to change it up. Maybe you ain't gonna meet her in the club. Maybe you got to go to the book club. Maybe you got to go to the beach. You know what I mean? Maybe you got to go to the social clubs. Maybe you got to go online. Maybe you got to push yourself. You know what I'm saying? And just do something. Don't do what doesn't work, expecting it to change. What's that? Don't repeat what doesn't work, expecting it to change, all that kind of stuff. Let's go.
Different manners of living. So if you're middle-aged, you've been struggling to meet somebody, my 2 cents in this issue is stop looking. You don't have to give up hope. You don't have to give up belief, but like that desperate search, just let that go, bro. Delete the apps. Just do you. Do the things you enjoy doing, and maybe
Give up looking. I'm a solutions man. So it's not that you give up looking. You just look to why. Why is it not quite working out? Don't delight in failure. If your goal is to meet somebody, you don't kind of settle for any kind of crap. But yeah, so you got to look to self, look to how you're meeting people, look how you go about things, and just try and go about it the best way possible. Then you've tried. And there's going to be lots of people like you described earlier, just doing the swipe left. They're not even in the reckoning. And some people are going to be doing that swipe left thing on you as well, and they're not in the reckoning either. It's not to get involved with. And he did mention a little bit earlier in the video about, when you give these things your energy, sometimes you feel like, and I really like that person, it didn't work out, and I understand that. That's what the love game's all about, unfortunately. And that's when you meet that person finally. And if you keep trying, statistically, obviously, if you do keep genuinely trying in all available areas, even if that means if you're in a 2-person town, maybe you've got to then move, and you keep trying and making these common sense decisions about, if I'm going to prioritize relationships, that's what I need to do, and then doing it, statistically, that's likely to happen. And if that takes drastic moves, like I said, statistically it will happen if it means enough to you and you know it. So let's go forwards. Go.
in the doing of that, you'll stumble across the person you're meant to be with. But if you don't, that's fine too. Just enjoy life, live life. Like, the world's changing, things are different. Like, it's a different world, and we don't have to live based on the views and beliefs that we were taught in the past. It's fine to be single. Enjoy your life. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this in the comment box below. Like I said, this is always the fun part of a video like this. People agreeing, people disagreeing. Just keep it respectful. Love y'all. Talk to y'all later.
Very good video, very, very, very good video. And as he said rightly, of course, there's nothing wrong with being single. Nothing wrong with being single. I was single until I was in my early 20s. You know what I mean? But for me, and the reason why I kind of got my perspective now is as soon as I realized, how to relate to women a bit more and what I was doing wrong, and I was a little bit more uptight, and I said I didn't know how to have a conversation with ladies. I only knew how to have conversations with my very small group of friends, really. So with even other guys, I would have struggled to have a conversation about anything because I wasn't really into football and things like that. But then I saw the light, and then obviously my social skills improved, which is why partly on my channel I go through some tips, some kind of social skills related tips. And the only reason why I put it on there is because I know it's going to work. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. And it's the same with all the videos put on there. I put it on there because there's something insightful that we can put across. Otherwise, I'll just delete it. I just wouldn't put it on there. But anyway, I hope you found that useful. Please like, subscribe, turn on notifications. That is Steve, and I am out.